Okay, I think we're here. Hi guys, I'm so excited that you're joining us today. I am here with my friend Ginny Melrose, who like me has been kind of at this blogging thing for quite some time. And she is going to tell us today all about working with brands. She's a little bit of an expert on this, and she's going to talk with us about mistakes that people make when they're working with brands. And I know for a lot of us, we had to learn the hard way. So it's awesome that Ginny's here to save the rest of you from those mistakes. Super duper excited about this because as most of you know, I am a full-time blogger like Ginny, and I do make a lot of my income from sponsored posts. And I know when I first started with sponsored posts, I was nervous to approach brands. I always went through networks. I was nervous for how much should I ask for. And now after having that experience, it's actually one of my favorite things to do on my blog. And I know that Ginny is just amazing at it. And she just has some really great information for you guys today. So Ginny?
Thank you so much, Melissa. It's so nice to be here. I'm so excited to get to meet your audience. I know this is kind of early for everybody, but I am a morning person, so this is perfect for me. I am going to warn everyone ahead of time. I do have a 3-year-old that is home right now, so we may have some interesting episodes here as we're going along, but that's the real life. That's the real world of being a mom that works from home. So as you guys are coming in though, if you wouldn't mind just commenting that you're here, I'd love to know your niche so that I can kind of make sure that I'm directing it towards your niche when I'm giving my examples. I'm really big on giving examples. So you'll see that there's a comment box. If you go to look to see who else is there, if you just refresh, it'll show up the other comments that are there as we're going along. And as we're going along as well, please feel free to ask any questions or any comments that you have. I am a former teacher, which you'll hear a little bit more about, but I'm used to being interrupted. I was actually an inner city school district teacher, so I'm used to like having chairs thrown at me and then continuing to just teach. So you'll notice that that's the way I kind of do this as well. So, all right, we are gonna kind of jump right in. I'm gonna share my screen and I'm gonna make sure that, yep. Can you see my screen, Melissa?
Yeah, I can see it.
Perfect. Okay, I'm gonna go to present. You can still see the full screen?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, good. Sometimes I feel like when I go to do this, I lose everything and it makes me really nervous. So, okay, so you guys are all here for the masterclass, Working with Brands, the mistakes to avoid to land contracts with brands that you love tomorrow so that you can continue to work with them. So you are in the right place right now if you're looking to boost your sponsored post income. If you've pitched brands before and you've only heard crickets, you haven't worked with brands yet, but you want to because you hear that there can be some great money that comes in from that. And it doesn't matter, honestly, if you've never pitched before or you do it all the time. We're going to have something here to help you. So a little introduction just really quickly of me. I'm the creator of the Melrose Family, which is a lifestyle site where I create quick and easy recipes and projects for busy parents. I have been at it for, I was thinking about it, I think it's a little over 6 years, going on probably close to 7 at this point, which is crazy, kind of makes me a dinosaur. But at this point, I also have the site jennymelrose.com, which was launched in September to help other influencers monetize and grow their sites. And as Melissa said, my jam is kind of working with brands. It's where I have been able to retire from a New York State teaching salary because my sponsor post income replaced it. And that was about 2 years ago. I consistently make over 5,000 on sponsor posts alone. And my goal, when I first started to reach out to brands myself, which I started doing last March, was to make 5 figures in a month. And so we started in March, and then in August, I hit my 5-figure goal, and I pretty much kind of waver in between 5,000 and 10,000 for sponsored posts per month. So it's kind of my thing. This is just branding so that you kind of know who I am. You might have seen me out there on the Melrose Family. I mainly do a lot of recipes over there. So if you kind of go into the food blogging, that's where you'd probably know me from. All right, so here's what we're gonna learn a little bit about today. We are going to be talking about how to reach out to brands so that it is the most effective way, so that there's a new way to be able to do that. We're going to be talking about the steps that you need to take in order to do so, as well as the number one question that I actually hear from bloggers most often, which is going to be held off till we get started and diving in. You're also going to learn about the new way to reach out to brands, because I feel like a lot of us, like Melissa said, are used to relying on the networks. I did that as well, and you'll hear me talk about the networks a little bit, and I'll answer questions about that as well. And I'm also going to really dive into the biggest mistakes that I see when working with brands, so that we can kind of get past those and be able to move forward. So not only will I talk about the mistakes, but I'm going to talk about the solutions and how to make sure that you don't make those mistakes. Okay, so in the beginning, this is my family. I am very much, my girls are part of the Melrose family, obviously, so they're very much out there. But in the beginning, I started a hobby blog to find myself mother and an unhappy teacher in an inner city school district. Teaching was changing. I felt that I wasn't being able to serve the kids the way that I should have been. I was a reading specialist. I had a caseload of anywhere from 200 to 300 kids, and most of them were 2 to 3 grade levels below. And I often left. I'd go in the day feeling energized and ready to go, and I always left feeling like I just couldn't accomplish what I needed to because my caseload was just too large. So I decided that as time went on, I wanted to create a successful business so that I could spend more time with my family. I hated missing out on those field trips that my daughter would have during the school year that, of course, I couldn't be a part of because I was a teacher. I never got to see first day of school pictures. My husband was always the one that had to take those, and I'd see them afterwards, which always made me sad because I always wanted to be there for those and couldn't, but now I can. So here is why it went wrong. I relied on ad money, which, of course, as we all know, was dependent upon page views. I tried some new techniques, and I actually grew my page views to well over 500,000 with the help of others. Now, this was a couple years ago. This was probably 3-4 years ago. Some of those techniques still work, but the algorithm changes in social media, like Facebook, Pinterest, Instagram, they all hurt my page views. And I think a lot of us that have been around for a long time, I don't know about you, Melissa, but me personally, like I saw a huge hit when the algorithms came. So I'm not sitting around 500,000. I sit around probably about 250 to 350, depending upon the time of year. So just to give you kind of an idea of where I'm sitting now, I saw my ad income actually decrease as page views went down, of course, and brands started to realize there was a better way to meet their return on investment. So instead of just putting up a banner ad where it was clicks and they weren't paying as much for those anymore because people weren't getting clicks as much as they were, they realized that they could do sponsored posts and get more bang for their buck. So the solution became that I needed to reach out to brands myself to show them that their return on investment in me would be well above what they expected. I started standing out to brands amongst thousands of bloggers that were larger than I was, and I started making more than a full-time income and made over $10,000 in the month of August, like I stated, and that was just on sponsored post alone. Now, I do diversify my income. I don't put all my eggs in one basket. This is probably my sponsored post income probably about 50 to 60% of my income, but I also do have ads and I do affiliate marketing as well. Okay. So what we're going to do is we're going to dive right into these critical mistakes. I do want you guys to make sure that you ask any questions as we're going along, because there probably will be some that kind of pop up as we're going through. So the elevator pitch. This is, if you are familiar with me, I have a Pitch Perfect challenge that I actually walk people through that really hones in on the elevator pitch. I feel that the elevator pitch is one of the most important things that you can have, because it's often, the mistakes that I see is that it's convoluted. People often are not very specific about what it is that they do. And I think this is a huge problem, especially for lifestyle bloggers like myself, who are kind of all over the place. We do more than one thing. We have a lot of stuff going on. So for us, it's difficult to hone in on specifically what we do. Plus, we often, when we're doing an elevator pitch, make it unrelated to the brand. And that's a problem. We're going to talk a little bit more about your initial pitch, but when you first reach out to a brand, you have to be able to show that brand how your influence is important to them. You need to share what it is that makes you stand out and makes you different so that it's part of your pitch. So your pitch will change a little bit for every brand that you reach out to depending upon what their goal is for their particular campaign or their goal for their brand or the specific product that you're even looking to pitch them on, that you want to work with them on. Okay, confidence. So let me just say that I think confidence, even to people like myself, my page views obviously went down. And for me, confidence can be a thing, I think for most women it is, where we feel like we're just not good enough, where we always feel like we need to be doing more. We should be larger. We should have a better Facebook following, whatever it might be. So the biggest areas that I hear about are page views and of course, social media. And here's what I'm going to say right off the bat. The brands don't care so much about the numbers as we think they do. They care more about the engagement that you have on your site. Can you speak intelligently about your audience? Do you know what percentage is male and female? Can you tell me what their age group is? Like, are they between 24 and 34, or are they between 35 and 45, whatever it might be? And also, like, geographically, where are they from? Melissa and I were having a conversation before we started about how she is overseas now, so she's 5 hours ahead of her audience. So it can be difficult at times for her in order to be able to publish and know when they are going to be online to be able to connect with them. Well, you need to be able to speak to that. Where is your audience? So if you live in Canada, do you still have a larger audience in the US? Therefore, if you do, you can work with a US brand or product. It doesn't make a difference that you're in Canada. Also, I hear a lot of times bloggers will tell me, well, I'm too niche specific. So I have worked with many students that in the food blogging world in particular that will tell me, well, I'm a vegan food blogger. My audience is just a lot smaller. Not all these brands are going to want to work with me. Well, here's the thing about that statement. Those brands that have products that are vegan, they should want to work with that vegan blogger, because they don't want to work with someone like myself who's kind of all over the place. I will post a comfort food, I'll do a healthy recipe, I'll be doing a soup, all over the place. It's when you are niche specific like that, that brand, it knows what audience it's getting. Whereas with me, they don't know. Some of my audience might be vegan, some of my audience might be gluten-free, or some of my audience might be coming for an Oreo cupcake. So you have to really not use that as a crutch. That's actually a positive thing that you should be saying in your initial pitch to a brand if that is what you are, if you're very niche specific. Okay, so one of the things I constantly run into is that bloggers or influencers are not contacting brands correctly. And what I mean by that is a lot of times they'll use networks, and there is nothing wrong with using the networks. I'm not going to tell you to stop using the networks. I still use the networks myself. But what I am seeing and what my other influencers are seeing around me is that networks are having less and less campaigns available, because brands are finding it's almost easier to work with an influencer outside of the network, because then that influencer can play to their strength. And we'll get into more of the specifics about that. But when you're in a network, you're one in thousands of bloggers. And the only thing that you're often based on is your numbers. You don't get to play to your strengths and stand out. You just kind of sit in the network and wait to be picked out from a sea of bloggers. So the biggest thing is you need to be able to find that email address where you're going to send your initial pitch to. And what I actually teach is with the email address, you can often find it on their website. So you go to the brand's website and you would look for something that says press releases or media. And if you find a press release, normally down at the bottom of the press release is going to be who it's written by with their email address. That is the PR contact that you want to be reaching out to when you send your initial pitch. Now, not all brands make it easy for you to be able to find this email, of course. So what I actually do is I teach a strategy of using Twitter or Instagram to attract the brand's attention so that you can put out a tweet, get it retweeted, have the brand then follow you, and you can direct message them asking for the person on their team that works on either blog or influencer campaigns. Once you have that email address, you are good to go, but you have to have the email address. Otherwise, that's often where a lot of influencers will get stuck because they feel like, well, who do I reach out to? Who am I sending this to? We're so used to the networks kind of organizing that for us. All right, so let's talk a little bit about the initial pitch because that's obviously the first representation of yourself that you're going to be giving to the brand. So the biggest mistake that I see is that bloggers often will give all that and the kitchen sink in their initial pitch. They'll go into such great detail that if they are a food blogger and they're reaching out to a flour company, they'll say they're going to make an apple pie recipe that is an award-winning recipe of their grandmothers from the 1800s. And they're going to do 3 pins and 2 tweets and 1 Instagram post. And all of this is within the initial pitch. Here's the thing. None of that should be in the initial pitch. All you want to do in your initial pitch is give a basic idea to the brand what you're going to be talking about so that they don't feel like for one, that's the fastest way to get them not to answer. Because think about it. If they're not thinking about it's apple pie season, or if they're not looking for you to make an apple pie recipe, why would they contact you back and be like, yeah, sure, send me your media kit and a proposal? No, they're not going to reply back to you, or they're going to turn around and just say no because you've already pitched your idea. Instead, with your initial pitch, you're going to say how you think so let's say it's right now and it's the spring, or it's kind of springish, right? Depending upon where you are, of course. But let's say you're talking about right now. So here's the thing too. You want to make sure that you're pitching 3 to 6 months in advance. So if it was right now, I would probably be starting to think about possibly fall, especially if it's flour that you're going to be pitching. I'd be thinking about those fall recipes, or I'd be thinking about back to school, and you're going to give them a broad idea of what you're going to actually pitch, like to show that the flour is a healthier option because it's gluten-free flour. You keep it broad so that it gives them the opportunity to be able to want more from you, to see exactly specifically what you're going to do. You also want to make sure that that initial pitch is focused on the brand. It shouldn't just be focused on how wonderful you are. Yes, you want to show your strengths, but you want to show how your strengths are important to the brand rather than just kind of talking about yourself. So you want to do your research with this. You should go to their Twitter feed, go to their Facebook feed, look and see what it is that brand is talking about. Is there a specific product that they're promoting for this time of year that you can bring into your initial pitch and explain how your influence is important? So let me give an example. I'm an example kind of girl. So I had reached out to Bird's Eye, and at the time, they're frozen vegetables. At the time, they were promoting their protein-packed vegetables. So when I went to pitch them, I made sure that I brought in the fact that I understand the value, obviously, of protein in their vegetables, because having 2 little girls that are very picky eaters and a full-time job, because this was, again, a time when I was working full-time outside of the home as a teacher, I understood the value of being able to have a quick and easy product that I could just use a second and be able to get out a meal within 30 minutes, whatever it might be. So I made sure that I kind of played into where my influence was. I had my girls, I was a teacher, understood the importance, and kind of tied it to their brand, the product that they were promoting at that time. Okay, so this is, I think, where a lot of influencers have an issue is with the proposal piece, because a lot of times we're not used to having to do a proposal ever because we're sitting in networks where the network puts it together for you and says, this is what you're going to do. Well, the proposals actually give you the opportunity to be able to tell them what you're going to do and to make sure that you play to your strengths. But it has to be professionally represented. So when you send your initial pitch, the call to action that I teach to give at the end is to state, asking them, I'd love to send my media kit and a proposal for your review. So you send the media kit after the initial pitch, not in the first one, because it gives you that opportunity to kind of have a little bit of a carrot hanging for them to say, yeah, sure, send the media kit. And when they say that, you also send a proposal, which is going to be a 1-page PDF that is going to tell them specifically what your tactics are going to be for them on that campaign and your price. And we'll get more into pricing because I know that that's obviously an issue. Underpricing is where I find that a lot of influencers have a deficit, really. If you go to the website, socialbluebook.com, you can actually enter in your Google Analytics and your social media stats, and that will spit you out a range of a rate that you can actually charge based upon your stats. Now, obviously, it's based upon just your statistics. So if you've been blogging for 7 years, like Melissa and I that are dinosaurs, you obviously have a little bit more experience. So if Google Analytics spits out a rate that's a little bit lower than what you feel comfortable charging, charge more. Or if the Social Blue Book spits out a rate that is much lower than or higher than what you would expect to be able to charge because you've never worked with a brand before, go a little lower. It's a range. Like you kind of use it as like an estimate, but it is a great estimate. I've had students that were undercharging by 3 to 4 times the amount of what they should have been charging. And they had no idea. And I've had them then turn around, pitch a brand, and get exactly what it was that they should have been charging. So obviously you want to stay realistic based upon your experience, but at the same time, you want to make sure that you're making a decent amount where you don't hate working on that project. And I always teach that you should have a hate rate, so that you have this rate that you're not willing to go below because you're going to either hate yourself or the brand when you go to do that post. And that post is going to fall on its face if you hate it. Let's be honest. You're just not going to be able to tell a story and go into detail about it as well.
Jenny, I really love what you said about if you're a blogger with more experience, or if you have a particularly highly engaged audience, not being afraid to go higher than that estimated rate charge, because I actually did recently put my stats in there, and it came back with about 1/3 of what I actually normally charge and routinely receive. So, yes. But it's a great way, especially for newer bloggers, to see kind of a starting point, because I know my first sponsored post, 5 years ago, I think was for $15, which is insane to me now,
Right.
It's not even worth the time it took me to write it and push publish, So I think undervaluing yourself is a huge mistake that a lot of bloggers make.
Yes, no, absolutely. And I too, same thing. And one of the things that I actually teach for my Working with Brands e-course is that I always teach to do an extra, like an out of the box kind of idea. And I go into a little bit more detail about that, but it's so that it makes that price even easier to be able to ask for a higher price rather than especially what you're used to getting through the networks, where like some networks are still only paying like $100 to $150 per post, which unless you're just starting out, I think is a little crazy. So, but yes, I agree. And of course, again, with the proposals, you have to make sure that you play to your strengths, because like Melissa, like you were saying, we've been at this for a long time, like that we know what works, what doesn't work. We understand our audience. And with this also, like oftentimes, I know you're on Facebook Live quite a bit, and I also am comfortable on Facebook Live. So that is something that I would probably pitch as an added bonus that they can get from me. Whereas like if you're doing this through a network, they don't get that kind of stuff. They get their one pin, their one tweet, their one Facebook post, and like one Instagram post. That's it. When you actually pitch the brand, you can offer up these bonuses where they're like, oh yeah, that sounds great. Facebook Live, yeah, we heard that the reach is amazing on that. Let's try that. And they're more likely to jump on that and to pay a higher price for it.
Real quick, Jenny, Tina's asked in the comments about a promo code. So I wanted to make sure that you mentioned that there is going to be a special for signing up, if you, or that you're going to cover that.
Oh, yes. No, that's perfect. Yeah. So I normally save it towards the end, but that's totally fine that she's already asking. That's great. So anybody, I'll put it out there right now, just if they decide they want to buy. You can notice that there's that buy now button that's there for the my Working with Brands e-course. And I'll go into more detail of like what that strictly consists of. But anyone that purchases while we are live is also going to get a bonus of a 30-minute consult with me. And I do consultations and coaching. So I normally charge $350 an hour for that. For the 30-minute session, it's $200 normally. So it's a $200 value that you're getting on top of all the stuff that you'll see there with the Working with Brands e-course. But I promise we'll go into more detail about that and like specifically what the course covers and all that kind of stuff too. So that's perfect. Okay, so we are flying through these mistakes. We're probably about like halfway there. So another one that we run into all the time is the lack of authenticity. I hear from bloggers and influencers quite often that they feel like, oh, I don't like doing sponsored posts. I hate them. They're terrible. I have to say these specific things. Well, here's the thing. There's a difference between a review and a sponsored post. A review is where you get that vacuum and you say, okay, the vacuum does this, 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 and this, and these are all the wonderful features of vacuum. Sponsored post is where you work with a vacuum company, you get paid, or maybe you just do it in exchange for products for that vacuum, but you're going to give them 5 tips on how to clean their house. And one of the tips is going to be that vacuum, and you're going to get in the specifics of what you want it to be. When you're doing a sponsored post, you want to tell your story. You want to be able to continue to give your audience what they're used to, because the worst possible thing you can do is to alienate your audience with a sponsored post that's just pure crap, where they wouldn't expect it from you. Now, if you are a review blog and you only do reviews of products, then yeah, obviously do a review. But if you're not, you're a food blogger, a lifestyle blogger, or you do cleaning tips, make sure you continue to tell that story and answer those problems for them. So you want to give them a solution. So you want to make sure that you are solving a problem or a pain point. So I know, Melissa, like you do a lot of cleaning tips.
Yeah.
So for you, like if someone were to give you a vacuum or someone to give you, and obviously like, so one thing I should say is that I am not one of those bloggers that goes, oh, no, you can't ever do a post in exchange for product. If it's a product that you feel that is a higher priced item that you wish you could purchase or that you would have purchased, then I always say do it in exchange. So an example that I would give for myself is we were trying to get my daughter from a day bed into a big girl bed, and we needed a new mattress. And I had a mattress company actually reach out to me, and the mattress was a $1,000 mattress. And it was just an exchange for product. And I was like, yeah, we can do that. This will work. My daughter now has a nicer mattress than I do, but it works. But I didn't just do a review of that mattress, which is the same thing. Like if you do cleaning tips and you get a vacuum, you wouldn't do just the like details of review of that. You're going to solve a problem. So for the mattress, I did, title of the article was how to transition a toddler into a big girl bed. And I gave all these tips on how to do it. And then one of the tips was the mattress, and I was able to give the features of it. So you want to still tell your story, hit that, solve a problem for them, hit on a pain point. It always wants to be consistent. Like the only reason they should know that it's a sponsored post is because it says up at the top in your disclaimer per FTC guidelines, this is a sponsored post on behalf of blah, 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 blah. That's the only way they should be able to tell that's a sponsored post. Otherwise, it should be your authentic voice, giving them a solution, solving a problem for them. You also.
I'm sorry to interrupt.
No, you're totally fine. Please do that. You're fine. Go ahead.
One of my recent sponsored posts was for 2000 flushes. So, which is kind of one of those ones that makes you be a little bit creative when you're thinking about how you're going to promote that product for that brand.
Yes.
And I did a spring cleaning checklist, and I did a how to save time when you're cleaning your bathroom. And I integrated it with like a printable PDF, and I did a Facebook Live with it, and the brand was really happy, and they ended up coming back with a multi-post deal for me on that.
Yes. That right there is what it's about, being able to be creative. And that's one of the things that I knew, like Melissa, when I reached out to you about doing this, I know the way that you do your sponsor posts, and I know that you think like I do. So it's a perfect match, because that's the way it should be. It should be that creative way. Like I think one of my craziest ones that I've ever done, and my husband was like, you're doing what? Was for Glad trash bags. And I had to do a thing on Glad trash bags. And they wanted me to do this challenge of stating how the garbage could stay in there for a couple days or whatever, and it would still stay fresh and clean. So I'm like, okay, yeah, my audience is going to hate that if I just do that. So I need to continue to give them their content that they're used to. So I created a Caribbean fish taco recipe and told a story of how we were gone for the weekend, but had the tacos before we left. They were sitting in the garbage, and the house didn't smell of fish when we got home after a long weekend. So it still hit on the criteria the brand asked for. I gave the audience this gorgeous Caribbean fish taco that had all these beautiful colors in it. It did wonderfully on Pinterest, and the brand was totally okay with that, even though it was, you know, off in left field. You're talking Glad trash bags, and now you're talking about Caribbean fish taco. But it totally, like, they loved it because that's what my audience wanted, and it did well because of that. Now, to go along with that, you also want to make sure that when you're doing a sponsor post, you go the extra mile. So what I mean by this is that you don't stop short. So if you were to put out a news post yourself and it's not sponsored, you would most likely, if you're looking to get traffic, pin it once and then schedule it to go through for probably 10 to 2 weeks worth of all your different group boards, and you would set it as an interval setting so that it would be able to go through. So you want to be able to do that same thing when you are doing your sponsored post. Make sure that you are putting in the same amount of effort so that it continues to do well, and you're making sure that the brand is happy with those numbers. Okay, go upstairs. So my little one just snuck in. That's what she's giving hugs. Luckily, you can't see me as she's like all over me. All right, so the next step, go ahead upstairs, I'll see you in a bit. The non-existent follow-up that people may have is that you have to have an invoicing system. We're obviously not used to this as bloggers that work through networks. So you have to actually have an invoice and know that you need to follow up with the brand after the project is done. You also need to be able to do social media impressions. You need to be able to tell, give me 2 seconds, guys. Sorry. Hey, listen. Listen. No, Avery Elizabeth. Oh my God, she's running around me. Listen. No.
While Jenny's here, I'll tell you that I worked on that same Glad trash bag campaign. And from my blog's perspective, I promoted the trash bag by how to make your home smell good. Somebody's got recipe and a few little hacks, like putting dryer sheets in your and the brand was really happy with the way I looked in the trash bags to that one as well. So
getting mad. Give me 2 seconds. Go ahead, keep going, Melissa. I'm so sorry.
Oh, no problem. No problem. We all know. I was telling Jenny just before we got on the call that this is my first time with all of my 3 children in school in the 6 years I've been blogging, and so for me, the quiet that I have during the day is insane. And that is one of the reasons that we were doing this webinar so early in the morning on United States time, because I'm in the UK right now. It's 2 p.m. for me, and so I have to pick up my kids in less than an hour, and I asked Jenny to do it early so that, because my kids, believe me, you would know if they were here, they're super, super loud. I have 3 little boys. So,
okay, are you still there?
Yeah, we're still here.
Oh my God, I'm so sorry. Okay, all right, so the social media impressions is the other piece of this, is that because normally we're used to just having to give links. With this, you want to actually be able to give the impressions, the reach, and all the social media platforms now do that. So you can go to Facebook, you can go to Twitter and Instagram, and it's going to show you exactly how well the social media that you're sharing are doing. So you have to make sure that you give that to them, and we kind of want to tie it up in a bow and be able to hand it to them in a silver platter. Okay, so another piece of what I actually recommend is being able to give the best of. If you get comments on Facebook, if you are seeing a pin go crazy, you want to be able to report back to them, because kind of like you just were talking about, Melissa, with that 1,000 flushes, I think it was, you said it was?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
With them, you want to be able to, the whole purpose of this is so that it's not a one and done like it normally is with a network. You want it to end up resulting in a long-term contract. That's why, like, I will say that my calendar is filled up probably 2 to 3 months in advance, because I will do something one time and then turn around, report back with all my information, and say to them, okay, let's talk about, let me send you a proposal for something long-term down the road for a couple different posts. And I'll pitch them for, instead of just 1 post, I'm pitching now for at least 3 probably, depending upon obviously the brand and what we've had to happen during that first campaign. So it is about making sure that you follow through with them afterwards. Okay, so here's the thing. Please remember that this is not just theory for me. Like this is 6 to 7, I don't even know how many years exactly since I've been at this now, but it is a lot of trial and error for me. Like I've been at this for a long time. It's what I did to earn 10,000 in sponsor posts. And that shouldn't say just last month, because at this point it's happened multiple times. But it's trial and error that I have been able to go through to be able to figure it all out. So what is it all about for you guys? Well, first, let's be honest. It's about money. We all need to be able to feel like we're making an income. And if you're anything like me with kids running around being crazy and everything else, you're taking time away from your kids. So you need to be able to have that income coming in. And if you have a husband that is also saying, okay, you're taking time away from the kids, you're taking time away from the family, let's make this into a profession. Like, let's see some money coming in. And that definitely makes a difference. It also gives you freedom. It gives you freedom to be able to not be a teacher anymore, or to really take your side hustle and turn it into that full-time profession, because it consistently starts to bring in an income. It also gets rid of some stress, because when there's consistent money coming in, let's be honest, it's a huge relief to know exactly what's coming in, especially if you have a calendar that's full 2 to 3 months in advance. You don't have to say, okay, do I have a sponsor post for next month? When is it going to get paid? It's just much easier to feel relief and be able to just go about doing your business and running your business, really. And most importantly, I feel, at least because I am a former teacher, I need consistency in my life. So having the sponsor post and a calendar that's full makes it that much easier for me. So I'm not sure why you showed up today, if it was because you find yourself stressing over whether or not you have enough sponsor work coming in, or if it's because you're tired of waiting to be picked up from within a network of bloggers, or if you just want to see an increase in your income. I hope you really get this one thing for me. Going on my journey and discovering with much trial and error that working with brands on sponsor content was how I needed to make a full-time income change the way I do things. It's something that you can do. It's a process, though. You can, in a very short period of time, be in the same situation. I honestly would say it takes about 90 days of going through it. So the obvious question becomes, how do I apply all this? Well, honestly, you have a choice. You can do it slow using trial and error and some of what I taught you today, or you can do it quickly using my full 6-step process. So this is my Working with Brands e-course. Now, this is my 3rd launch of the course. It has been updated multiple times. There's different tiers that go along with it now. But it is designed to give you the entire process, everything that you need in order to work with brands and keep them coming back to you for more. It's absolutely the fastest way to get from minimal work to doubling your income in 90 days. So this is what I had talked about with you. I started reaching out in March. I was sitting in May, about 4,000 I had brought in sponsor posts. So then June, there's July. And then August was my first 5-figure month. And this actually, the first launch of Working with Brands occurred the end of September. So this is why it's kind of timelined that way too, and it has continued that way. All right, so what exactly is Working with Brands e-course? It's 7 video modules. Each module consists of 2 to 5 videos. So for me, what I love about this is I use a Teachable platform. So you don't have to sit in front of the computer and watch all the videos. You can actually listen to it like a podcast if you needed to. You also get 14 PDFs, multiple ready-to-use spreadsheets, private Facebook group, plus there's multiple bonuses at this point, you guys, since it is the 3rd relaunch. There's a Media Kit video training that I have added in. There's a productivity that you're getting as a bonus. You also get a Pinterest traffic booster course that I've thrown in as a bonus right now that I'm offering. Honestly, nothing is left out. So here's the way the breakdown kind of works to give you an idea. Module 1 and 2 are all about beginning to feel comfortable with the idea of pitching brands, that you don't have to have fear holding you back. You create that elevator pitch that's specific to you and the brand, and you start understanding the difference between a review and a sponsor post so that you don't alienate your audience. Module 3 is about pitching the brand, so you receive a reply back so that you can knock their socks off with your proposal. Then module 4 is the perfect proposals. And this is honestly the piece I feel like most bloggers need the most help. We talk about the understanding the key elements of a media kit and representing yourself in a professional manner, as well as creating proposals with specific elements in place so the brand sees where their money is going. I also teach this whole idea, I talked a little bit about it quickly, about using an out-of-the-box bonus in order to increase your value, which also increases your income because you can ask for a higher price. Understanding pricing so that you never undervalue. Again, module 5 is about creating sponsored posts that wow brands and have them coming back to you because of your work. Understanding the essential elements necessary for a sponsored post. Creating authentic sponsored posts that become your most popular posts, because it's honestly what my content is at this point, which is a little crazy, I think, to most people. But my sponsored posts are my most popular content on my site. And also how to skyrocket your impressions with social media and mastermind groups. So I go into the whole idea of building traffic as well. Module 6 is about the follow-up, creating an invoicing and tracking system so you stay organized and get paid on time, reporting back to brands with a culmination document that reminds the brand why they want to continue to work with you. So how much will this cost me? Well, to be honest, guys, it cost me thousands of dollars and hours because I toiled through learning these specific steps. It took me a long time to get this process down. One student that I had back in my first launch in October made the cost of the course back after 1 week of applying these skills and landing sponsored content. Okay, so you'll notice on my sales page, there is actually 3 different tiers right now. The main 2 tiers that I have are the signature and the masters. The biggest difference between the two, the payments are actually a little bit different than this sheet is showing because I've changed this and didn't update it here. Sorry about that. So the payments are actually, there's a payment plan. I want to say it's 5 payments of $85 and 6 payments of $105, but it is $397 and $597. So with the signature course, you get the Working with Brands course. It includes everything that we talked about. The master's track is a little different because I actually have a member site where with the member site, and it's down towards the bottom here where of course it's kind of hiding in there, you actually get once a week, you get a Facebook Live training with me where I will come in talking about anything from email marketing to sales funnels to product launch to who to reach out on brands. We cover pretty much anything. So the members of the group kind of determine what the training is on. And the training is normally about 30 to 45 minutes once per week. We also do a once a month webinar with a master blogger who's been in the field for quite some time and may have a very specific specialty. So we've had people come, Daniel List, who is a lawyer, came in and talked about negotiating contracts. We also had Katie Widrick came in and did a webinar on keywords and SEO. So I try to bring in people that I feel like I don't have that specific knowledge, and they'll come in once a month to do a webinar with us. Now, the big difference with the master's track and why most people end up choosing it is because it actually also gives you once a week, you get a 15-minute one-on-one with me via Skype. So the reason that I do 15 minutes instead of doing it larger is not only because I don't have enough time in the day, but it's also because it gives you that swift kick in the butt that you really need. I find that anytime that I do my consulting, I normally will often get people feel like, okay, that they've got this laundry list of things that they need to get done. And it can feel overwhelming because you can start to get going through that list and then want to have that contact back and ask a question. Well, that's one of the great things about the master's program. You can meet with me on a Friday, ask a question, start getting into it over the weekend. And then on Monday, if you're stuck, you can get an appointment with me and I can help you so that you continue to move forward. So that's honestly where we see a lot of people choose the master's track. And when you go to the sales page, you'll see that there's actually a consulting track as well, which does also throw in a 60-minute one-on-one. It's obviously a higher price though for that one, but you'll see that on the sales page. There's the buy now button. Like I said before when we were starting, if you purchase before we are done, I will also throw in a free 30-minute consult with me, no matter what track you decide to do. So if you want to work with brands without wasting time and money, there's honestly no better system. This is exactly what I needed when I started. It would have saved me a tremendous amount of time and money. You have to remember, I'm a teacher. I'm very used to doing lesson plans, used to everything being step by step. So that's exactly the way that this course works. You get all the modules in video format with supporting PDFs and spreadsheets, plus you'll have my support throughout the process through our private Facebook group. And you may have noticed when Melissa tagged me or there was a question that tagged me, I'm very diligent about making sure that I answer, especially when I'm tagged anywhere on Facebook, because I just feel I want people to have their questions answered. And that's the way I work my Facebook groups as well, is that I am there, I am present. You can ask a question and normally get an answer before the end of the day, normally within the first 5 minutes. I'm a little crazy about it. So right now, I'm actually gonna skip all that. I'm gonna try to come back to you guys if I can remember how to do this, of course, now. There we go. Starting to come back, I think. Nope, now you're seeing that. Hold on. I'm gonna find y'all. Wait a second. Present, stop screen sharing. Okay, am I back?
Yep, you're back.
Yay! I didn't know if I was back or not. Perfect. Okay, so that is pretty much like how the course works. Were there any specific questions that I missed?
No, none on the page. I'm sure there's going to be some more once we get into the replay as the day goes on and all our West Coasters start popping in.
That's perfect. And like I said, if you tag me, like we'll make sure that this is posted to you. If you were signed up for it, you're going to get the email that will have the replay in there, as well as I am, for anyone within 48 hours, I'm offering a bonus. So check your email for that. There will be a 48-hour bonus. And this will expire after 48 hours, the replay too. So you want to make sure that you get on, watch it, and ask any questions that you might have. I'm always around to ask questions. And you can tag me on Facebook so that like I said, I'm a little crazy about it. I will head right over and make sure to answer those questions. But yeah, Melissa, did you notice if there were, let me see, mine shows 0 comments. So one thing I don't like about this setup here on this page.
Yeah, we hit the only comments that we had on that page. I was looking at it during the presentation. I really just want everybody to know that as someone like Ginny that makes, you know, a very, very healthy income from sponsored posts, like her course, I've gone through it. It's amazing. It hits all those big points. And even I consider myself pretty experienced blogger, but there was still a lot of value that I got from the course. I loved the PDF proposal idea. I thought that was amazing, genius. And giving them the actual data afterwards. I'd always followed up, but I hadn't done it really as professionally as I could have. And so I think no matter what level blogger you are with, you know, where you are in your journey, from a new blogger that hasn't worked with brands to someone, you know, like me that has, you know, 5, 6, 7 years of experience, there's kind of something for everybody in the course. And, you know, like you said, that one student that you had from the first one, I mean, just one blog post pays for it, really, you know? So it's definitely a really cool opportunity to increase your income. And how long is the course available for this launch?
The course, actually, the cart will close Friday, and I always get to the point where I'm like, okay, cart's getting ready to close. Because it's crazy when launch is going. Just launching a product is so insane sometimes. One thing I did want to comment on is you talked about the proposal piece. So one of the things that I think people don't really know what to expect with the proposals is that because I have kind of done it all, like I'm a lifestyle. So I have pitched, you know, for cleaning, I've pitched for food, for travel, everything. I've kind of done it all. And what I've made sure to do within the course is to actually offer, I give you my proposals and I tell you, take my proposals and make it specific to you so that you can kind of get an idea. And I am not one, I don't hide my page views. I don't hide my, how much I charge. Everything is there for you so that you can kind of get a feel for it. I'm one of those that I always tell this story, but when I first came up with this idea of creating the Working with Brands course, I was actually in New York at my parents' house. And I was like, listen, I think, Mom, I'm going to create this e-course. My mom's like, okay, well, what are you going to do? I'm like, well, I'm going to teach people how to pitch brands. And my mom's like, what? Why would you do that? Like, you're going to teach them how to do it? Isn't that going to be like competition for you? And I'm like, no, Mom, that's not the way it works. Like, everybody is unique. Like, we all bring something different to the table. So whether you have been blogging for 2 months or you've been blogging for 7 years, you're going to bring something different to the table. And because of that, you can pitch that to a brand and they're going to be willing to pay a different price for different people. So whether you are just starting out or if you've been around for a long time, like Melissa said, there's different things that you can put in front of the brands, and it's not competing with each other, even if we pitch the same brand, because again, I bring something different to the table than you may, and you may not ask for the same price that I ask for. So it's a level playing field, which is what I love.
When you were excusing yourself for a moment, Ginny, I told them that I had worked on that GLAAD campaign as well, but just to kind of show the different angles, I had done a cleaning, how to make your house smell good post. So you can promote the same brand in a totally unique way and offer value to the brand in a totally different way than someone else might, and still accomplish the goals of the brand. So
yes, no, I totally agree. And I think too, what I found is because I have had, this is the third launch, we have over, I think we're sitting at about 150, a little bit more than 150 students at this point. That Working with Brands, the Facebook group continues to have it. You have lifetime access. So because of that, the group is very supportive of each other. Like someone will come in and be like, hey, has anyone worked with so-and-so? And if they have the contact, they'll just hand it over. Like there's none of that like competition within there. We have it's an amazing group of people because it's bloggers that all understand that they're at the same point. They're all to that point where they're doing this as a side hustle and they really want to do this more and make it a full-time kind of gig where they can bring something for their family. They can help, or they can totally take over. I know, Melissa, you as well as I this has become so much more than I think we ever thought it could be.
Yeah, it's totally life-changing. I mean, just when I think about when I started my blog, pregnant, my husband's in Iraq, and I was just bored from talking to toddlers all day. And now, it's a full-time income for me. This is our fourth duty station since I started the blog, and my job moves with me. I just spent 2 weeks in France, and I didn't work the whole time, and I still had income coming in. And it's just, I mean, we never would be able to travel like we do without that income and the opportunities, and just having a career that I can take with me wherever I want. And it's just been an amazing, life-changing experience.
Yes, no, I totally agree. And I honestly feel, and I almost wish, I love the experience that I have and I love how much I've grown from it, but I wish that I was starting out now because there are so many more resources out there now. There's all these courses and all this information all in one place that you can literally start like 2 months and see a huge difference in 3 months from now. And whereas I feel like when we started, it was kind of like there wasn't that much information out there. You were kind of like piecemealing it all together. And I'm telling you, like, I have a podcast that I actually did an interview, not today, but the interview from last week was of Taylor Stinser. She's from Girl on Bloor. She started the course. She was making about $2,000 total. She, 3 months later, after taking the course, was making like $9,000 from sponsored posts.
Yeah, that's amazing.
It's very much possible. For me, I don't like to hold things back. I'm very kind of like open and also because I'm a teacher, I feel like I teach that if you don't this way, try this, or go here and do this. Everything is a path. There's a path for everything. So, and I really try to make sure that I cover that. But
well, thank you so much, Jenny. It's been amazing. Gosh, we're almost to an hour now. But
I know it went by so fast.
Well, thank you again for coming on so early in the morning. You definitely are much more of a morning person than I am. I do work up at 8:30 my time. It's 2:30 and I'm about to go have a cup of coffee. But so hopefully everybody I learned a lot. I'm sure they did. And you're going to send out an email to follow up, right?
Yes, there will be a replay that will come out as well. It's with the 48-hour bonus if when people purchase, so that they get a little additional something for saying thank you, because I love your audience. I know that you think very much like I do. So I appreciate your time so much, Melissa. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you. I appreciate you sharing your knowledge with us.
All right, guys, we will talk to y'all soon.